learners, welcome to this MOOC on Sociology of Health and Illness. I am Maureen Kalita, Assistant Professor from the Department of Sociology, and today in this video we'll be discussing two units. I'll be combining meaning of a social organization and hospitals as a social organization and medicine as a profession. I'm combining these two units so that you get a detailed understanding regarding the broader ideas of a social organization and how healthcare can be a social organization. After going through this MOOC, you will get an idea about the nature of healthcare institutions. Here, we will discuss the idea of social organizations and understand various features of these organizations. Further, it will explain the functioning of hospitals as a social organization, and again it will introduce you to the historical development in the organization of hospitals and explain its working. Along with the above mentioned points, a brief explanation of the profession of medicine is also provided to highlight various changes that this profession has undergone since its inception due to the rise in technological advancements. Now, let us begin by understanding in detail the meaning of social organization. So, as we all know, every society consists of numerous kinds of groups which interact with each other for the proper functioning of the society or the social system. Each of these groups further have a proper organization within themselves, which basically means that there exists a clear set or pattern of interaction within these groups which facilitate their smooth functioning. In the discipline of sociology, such a pattern of relationship that exists between social groups or among groups and individuals that constitute the group is called social organization. Thus, it can be argued that the term organization basically refers to the interdependence of various parts in a group. Every organization has some specific purposes. When the members or the different units come together to achieve a common goal, they form an organization. An organization can also be of numerous types. It can vary depending on its size, nature, and composition, such as workers in a factory, members of a family, or nurses in a hospital. Social organization also ensures smooth functioning of the various groups or parts of the society. Since some form of organization is present in every aspect of our society, social organization constitutes an important topic in various social theories and research. There are many theorists who have given various definitions of social organizations. Some of these are the views by scholars like Duncan Mitchell, who says social organization means the interdependence of parts, which is essential characteristic of all enduring collective entities, groups, communities, and societies. Likewise, Ogburn and Nimkoff also says that an organization is an articulation of different parts which perform various functions. It is an active group device for getting something done. There are various characteristics or features of these social organizations. These include a well-defined structure, goal or purpose, division of labor, system of communication within members, sexual composition of the members, leadership, spatio-temporal cohesion, and many more. These features help in the proper monitoring of various forms of interaction that occur within these organizations. The interaction, which is depending on the role of individual within which this organizations is dictated by their position, and it is generally called status. To put it simply, the role of individuals in an organization is based upon the status assigned to them. Since organizations are made up by interacting individuals and groups, all social institutions are organizations. For instance, the family, state, church, banks, hospitals, etc. are all various forms of social organization. Now we move on to what are the types of social organization. So, social organizations are basically of two types. These include formal and informal social organization. Informal organization are defined as a small group where the members share interpersonal relationship among each other. The interaction between the members consists of informal ways without adhering to any strict norms or rules of behavior. Members of such organizations share companionship with each other and there are no assigned statuses to any member. They share their joy, sorrows, fear with each other. These include institutions like friendship, family, bands, and so on. On the other hand, formal organizations are those which are characterized by the features as I have listed in the beginning of the lecture. These are a specific function, division of labor, a hierarchy of authority, rationality, and a proper arrangement of statuses and rule. The working of these organizations is systematically and carefully planned out. The major difference between these two types of organization is the system or order present in the formal, which is lacking in the informal. This system of order is sociologically termed as bureaucracy. Max Weber is one of the pioneers in the field of sociology who provided the first conception of bureaucracy in his analysis of formal organization. In his book on theory of social and economic organization, Weber notices the increasing rise of formal organization in the modern capitalized society and thereby the increasing rationality in these organizations. As the interpersonal relationships between the members diminishes substantially in the formal organization, Weber terms them as iron cages which take over an individual's life and traps them in a forever vicious circle of rationality and control. Despite these major differences, the two types of organizations, however, are not mutually exclusive. Within every formal organization, there exist many informal organizations as well. For instance, a school or a university consists of various groups of friends or a debate team, sports team, and so on. Similar kind of interpersonal relationship exists in all kinds of formal organization, be it a hospital, an office, and any other institution. In fact, for the proper functioning of a formal organization, it is necessary that its members share a cordial and friendly relationship with each other rather than having animosity or hostility towards one another. Such cordial relationship ensures one way of achieving higher efficiency in this formal organization. Charles Page, in fact, argues that due to various forms of association and interaction among members of a formal organization, there emerges a form of informal relationship and roles in some cases. Thus, the relationship between formal and informal organization is complicated and complex. From the above discussion, it can thus be inferred that society consists of various organizations, both formal and informal. The society, as Ogburn and Nimkoff argue, in fact itself is a larger organization which functions due to the interdependence and interrelationship between various large as well as smaller organizations, which consist, as I have stated in the earlier discussions, of both formal and informal ones. Some of these organizations include factories, corporations, banks, schools, etc. The state can also be categorized as an organization which has a major political goal. A university similarly represents another social organization which shares educational responsibilities. Now, after understanding and going into detail about what is a social organization, we will now come to understand how hospital can also be termed as a social organization. As we all know, there exist various kinds of healthcare institutions such as private clinic, small rural hospitals, or the common ones which focus only on patient care. In this part, we will discuss about a particular model of hospital, which is a large general hospital, which is typically found in an urban setting, though not necessarily in today's times, and which caters to three main functions, that is healthcare, teaching, and research. While the other models of healthcare institution exhibit various attributes of a social organization, it is these large general hospitals which are closest to the other modern day organization and displays latest medical trends. In fact, the World Health Organization WHO defines hospital as institutions that are instrumental for care, coordination, and integration. Hospitals, according to WHO, have a key role to play in supporting other healthcare providers, which includes the primary healthcare and in community outreach and home-based services. They also often provide a setting for education of doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals and are thus critical base of clinical research. A large general hospital itself is made up of various smaller social organizations which ensure a proper division of labor, leading to higher efficiency. For example, every hospital has a nursing staff, a surgery team, a pathology team, and so on. Large general hospitals additionally have other organizations that comprises of its teaching staff, students, and its research team as well. One can notice all the attributes of a social organization which have been discussed earlier when I was discussing about the social organization. Since a hospital consists of numerous small organizations, it is highlighted by a multitude of interactions that take place among its members. Each member or actor in a hospital has a designated status, and thereby performs his or her role based upon the position or the status that he or she holds. This designated status is a clear example of the intrinsic division of labor that exists within a hospital. Such a division of labor points to the intrinsic form of professionalization or specialization that characterizes a hospital. These specializations are references of how work is distributed among the members of a hospital based on their educational credibility. For instance, we can say that a hospital consists of a general physician, surgery specialist, neurologist, neurosurgeon, endocrinologist, and so on. This is just a small example of how the doctors are categorized in a hospital and are assigned their role. A hospital consists of various other members than the doctors, such as the nursing staff, non-clinical staff, managing committee, etc. Each of these are further categorized by their own organizational structure, and only when all the smaller organizations or parts or departments within a hospital perform their designated role, the hospital can perform smoothly. Robert Wilson in this context argues that the basic interaction that typifies a hospital takes place between the staff and patient and between the staff and themselves. He further asserts that while the patient constitutes an important component in the hospital, he does not belong to it. He is, in his words, in a state of transition as his identity gets ripped off once he enters the hospital. Thus, the patient, who is one of the most important actors in the hospital, is only a guest who has a temporary role in the hospital. The formal structure of a large hospital generally consists of three major forces: the administration, the board of managers or trustees, and the medical staff. Beneath these lay the nursing staff, and other kinds of groups like social works, pharmacology, and so on. Although the nature of authority is distinctly laid out in the hospital, there, however, exists certain confusion in its enactment. For instance, ideally, although the administration at the head of the hospital, there exists a clear uncertainty when it comes to the notion of authority between the administration and the medical staff. Wilson is of the view that hospital becomes a complex social organization because of such uncertainties in its authority. Since administration is comparatively a new aspect in hospitals, it lacks the required occupational prestige that is given to the medical staff, which is the repository of maximum expertise. This expertise, of course, gives them absolute medical authority. It has been argued that without proper medical assistance, a hospital is just like a hotel for sick people. It is only with proper medical care and diagnosis that hospitals tend to perform their major functions of providing health care. Hence, the occupational prestige accorded to the medical staff is quite above the administration, though administration is at the top in the structure of hierarchy. However, this is not to say that the medical staff has only limited administrative role. In fact, on various occasions, the line separating medical and administrative role diminishes. Such occasions arise during recruitment process and compensation of nursing staff. Although these are the function of an administrator, but the medical staff or doctor also has a major say in it. Hence, it can be argued that there are two underlying themes that characterize the organization of a hospital. These are diffusion of authority and struggle for occupational prestige. The role of hospital as a social organization, which is a part of the wider society, is not only confined to treatment of patients or provisions of health care. The hospital can also be regarded as a dynamic institution which has undergone major changes through various phases of the history. Such changes are reflected in the societal role that this organization performs today. Cockerham, he provides a historical model of development of hospital that consists of 4 phases. Initially, hospital was started by members of the clergy, the nuns who, along with providing health care, were also engaged in charitable services to the needy. During Renaissance, these religious centers became secularized and soon turned into places where the people were fed and provided shelter along with provision of treatment. From the 17th century, these were noticeable developments in technology and medical knowledge, which was followed by an increase in the number of hospitals as well as role of physicians in them. It is only in the 19th century that hospitals function as institutions solely dedicated for providing medical care, however, not with much positive outcome. Finally, by the end of 19th century, as the society has held on to the pace of faster industrialization, the condition of hospitals changed drastically and they have become center of medical technology and medical care open to all kinds of people. This model helps us in the understanding the modern day functions of hospital. In the contemporary society, hospitals are providers of medical care, thereby aiding to the community life, as I have just mentioned. They also contribute to public welfare by acting as centers of research that bring about various inventions in the field of medicine. Moreover, as institutions that provide medical knowledge to students, they also enact as educational centers or universities. For instance, AIMS, which is one of the leading hospitals in our country, is also a medical institution and center for research, bringing about new inventions in the field of medicine. Thus, in the capitalist economy, hospitals can be regarded as one of the largest employers of both clinical and non-clinical staff. As buyers of healthcare services, products, and many other goods, They are also one of the prominent contributors to a country's economy. Hence, there has been a rise in the concept of medical tourism. Despite these major functions that hospitals perform, they have been subjected to various kinds of criticisms. These include the rising callousness among medical professionals, often leading to wrong diagnosis, the extreme rationalization in this organization which has dampened the humanitarian aspect of it. In this context, government criticizes hospitals by referring to them as total institutions. He argues that since in hospitals, mainly the mental asylums, patients lead an administered life away from the society, they form new attachments which are based on these institutions, referring to this process as institutionalization, which makes it difficult for them to reintegrate into the society again. He asserts that hospitals, by depending on medicines, further this process of institutionalization, which is extremely harmful for the patient's well-being. In the contemporary society, it is true that hospitals have undergone a drastic change. In fact, Wilson calls a large general hospital the prototype of the multi-purpose organization. It is a hotel and a school, a laboratory, and a stage for treatment. However, the process of institutionalization still remains in hospital, albeit its intensity has decreased than it was before. So, after understanding hospitals and how it functions as a social organization, let us now move on to the next part, that is understanding the profession of medicine. The discipline of sociology has always been interested in the concept of profession. There exist various theoretical traditions that provide analysis of professions or professional groups, such as the functionalist theory or the neo-Weberian theory. In fact, Talcott Parsons is often regarded as the father of the study of professions. Although having a single definition of profession is not quite possible, theoretical traditions in sociology have charted out various characteristics for a proper understanding of the idea of profession. Some of these features include provision of a definite necessary social service, possession of intellectual techniques and skills by practitioners of the professional, and so on. Every profession is awarded with social prestige and rewards. Certain level of public trust is attached to a profession. Every profession is attached with ideals of altruism, and they also portray self-regulation, which basically means that professionals form their own organization, keep a check on their practicing standard and licensing. Based on the above features, the coming section would analyze the profession of medicine and chart its historical development to understand its prominence in the contemporary society. Humphrey Rolleston has argued that medicine, in the ordinary sense, namely the supervision and cure of the sick, is not and probably never will be an exact science. It is an art aided by the application of several sciences in which philosophy, religion, and sometimes commercialization also plays some part. The degree in which science is applied varies not only in the hands of different individuals but also in the various branches of or departments of medicine. Such a notion of medicine points to the fact that in order to understand the development of medicine as a profession, one needs to revisit the history or emergence of the idea of medicine. Looking into the history of medicine, one can notice the change that has come up in the society in its approach of dealing with health and illness. Some of the earliest medical tradition belong to that of India, China, Babylon, and Egypt. Medicine then did not possess a universalistic feature. Instead, it was quite dependent on the element of culture. The early forms of medicines were generally derived from the principle of humorism, also called the humoralism. This principle argues that in every human being, there are four kinds of humors or fluids, which is blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. These fluids need to be in equilibrium for a human being to be healthy. Thus, any kind of disease which was treated as condition of this equilibrium of the four fluids in the body. The rise of modern medicine owes its discovery to the germ theory of disease, which indicated the fact that rather than humors, there are various kinds of germs or bacteria, like viruses, fungi, etc., that cause infections in the body. Such discoveries were possible in the 19th century due to advancement in science and technology. Thus, similar to hospitals, the profession of medicine has also undergone through various phases. Today, as our society has reached the epitome of technological advancement, the usage of these new technologies in medical care has been ever rising. Smallpox has been entirely terminated, and there has been cures for many other deadly diseases. With the growth of modern medicine, various kinds of vaccines also were invented, which laid emphasis on the idea of prevention rather than cure. Thus, the notion of prevention is better than cure came up. Hence, the role of science or scientific application of medicine is ever increasing in contemporary society. In fact, the extent of this scientific meddling in day-to-day lives has intensified so much that there have been numerous protests or criticism against the process of medicalization. As we have discussed in earlier videos, medicalization refers to a process whereby any kind of human condition is treated through medical diagnosis only. Healthcare activists and various scholars have been speaking openly about the dangers of increasing medicalization of human lives. Sociology of medicine is one such discipline that deals with the issues of medicalization and provides theoretical work based on various cultures and other forms of medicine to criticize it. Medicine today has, in a way, moved a little further from its goal of altruism and healthcare and entered the capital world, which is based on capitalist ideals, where the human body is seen as a commodity that is under the control of doctor and his or her expertise or knowledge, which the layman lack. As the distrust between doctors and patients have increased today due to the wrong diagnosis or surgeries, there have been an increase in the use of alternative medicine. The use of Ayurveda today has increased. In fact, many people have totally withdrawn from scientific medical care and are using alternative methods of Ayurveda. Homeopathy along with yoga are also some other alternatives which people go to. Even today, with the advent of modern medicine and practice which apply to all societies, one can still notice the influence of culture in the treatment of various kinds of medicine. For instance, in India, chickenpox was considered as a possession by the goddess Shitala of a human body. Thus, the diagnosis involved numerous rituals and sacrifices to the deity. Shitala is which was believed to cure the diseases. Even today, while there exists scientific treatment of chickenpox, many of these cultural practices of pleasing the goddess are still carried on in the Indian society. Also, there has been rising cases of home delivery these days, however with the supervision of a medical expert. Thus, today, one can see that a tendency of amalgamation of both modernity and tradition in terms of medical care that people resort to. With this, we come to the end of this unit, and to highlight the major points once again, we have firstly discussed the idea of a social organization, its types and functions in the society. Then, we moved on to discuss how hospitals can be considered as a social organization. And finally, we ended the discussion by going through the idea of medicine as a profession and the changes it has encountered till date. With this, we come to the end, and thank you, learners.